I'm interested in the temptation to intellectualize emotions. You know, you were talking before, ask the sort of why beneath the why, and getting below the neck, as it's known in embodiment. Okay, fantastic. We have this very developed. Who was that philosopher that talked about being a philosopher is like being a mouse with a huge oversized ear on its back? You know, you have this one particular thing that you've grown to monstrous size, and anybody that is smart can do the work, but doing the work is just turning feelings into theories. And I wonder, I'm interested in this temptation of how to overcome intellectualizing emotions as opposed to actually sitting and feeling them.
Look, what's wrong with intellectualizing? Intellectualizing gets a bad name because at some point it ceases to have an accurate relationship to reality. So in other words, your theory has left behind the facts. Your map is no longer mapping the territory accurately. That's what's wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with having a map, but there's something very wrong with having a misguided map. And I think when we say intellectualizing is bad, it's when it gives us a rather rigid description of the territory, which no longer sees the actual full complexity of the terrain it's purporting to represent. And so what do we need to do? We need to constantly check our maps against the territory. In other words, we need to think, okay, I've got this nice, neat theory. Maybe I need to blow it up because it's liable to have grown a bit stale. I need to head out back into the world and assume I know nothing, blow up my theory in order to build a better one. So it's not about abandoning. I think, humans are naturally theory makers. There's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with clinging to outdated theory.
If you hold it too tightly, that's an issue. I've got this visual in my mind, the difference between a waymarker, which is being planted to give you an idea of the terrain, and a tether to which you are attached. Oh, I can't move from this thing anymore. This made sense 5 years ago when I first left university, and that explained where I was at. And it gave the chaos in the world a sense of order. I understood where I was going and what was happening. Oh, if that no longer has accurate explanatory depth, I need to come up with a new theory, and that's scary. I have to start all over again. You telling me I have to start all over again?
I think we regularly have to start all over again. And I think, it's that old adage, Socrates was asked why he was so wise, and he was said that he was so wise because he knew that he wasn't wise. In other words, ignorance, a capacity to acknowledge one's ignorance, is at the root cause of sophisticated thinking, that you should be returning to a kind of basic ignorance. Remember the story of Picasso, who went to an art school in old age, and he looks at some children scribbling and doing drawings, and he said, when I was their age, I could paint like Raphael, and now I'm learning again how to paint like them. That's really a story about giving up the old map and allowing oneself to be ignorant again. And I think that's a true gift we give to ourselves when we allow ourselves to say, you know what, I don't know very much at all. I mean, people often say to me, they must say this to you, people say to me, oh, you must know so much about, love or death or this or that, you spend all the time thinking. And I rush to tell them, I literally don't know anything. And this is not false modesty. It's a genuine sense that, with every passing day, I know less. It's not even wisdom. It's just comedic, really.
With every passing day, I know less. I love that. Yeah, the other thing to consider there is that almost everyone's body of work is a thinly veiled autobiography.
Yeah.
You are looking to the person who has put the most time into this. Why do you think I put the most time into this? Because I see me as most deficient in precisely all of the different areas that I am focusing on.
100%, exactly. So someone who's, providing a guide to goodness probably finds goodness really hard. Somebody who's really interested in wisdom is really in touch with the chaos in them and in the world. You wouldn't do it otherwise. You're right. It's a compensatory activity.
Mm-hmm.
And so be it. So we should never look to, our gurus to actually be, somebody's got, I thought they'd be wise, and then I saw them cursing at the airport and said, what a fool they are. You want to go, of course they did that. No, they're so invested in maintaining a sort of adult poise. Of course they're going to have a fragile hold on it. They wouldn't bother otherwise. And that's okay. That's absolutely fine.
I think I mentioned this to you last time, but I think it's one of the reasons why your work in particular, Oliver Burkeman, who wrote 4,000 Weeks, this very sanguine look at human nature. It's got a distinctively British quality to it, which I love. This sort of, it doesn't get too big for its boots. It's kind of got a Carry On Camping sort of signature to it.
I mean, look, bless the Americans, but the problem with America is that it was started by people who thought you could build Jerusalem on this earth, that you literally could build a city on the hill here and there. Whereas, European culture was a tragic culture, which essentially thought of human beings as inherently flawed, the playthings of the gods, and unable to master the show until maybe the next life, but definitely not this one, which immediately creates a comedic modesty around the gap between your aspirations and your reality. And so growing up in Britain, Britain doesn't do many things well, but one of the things it really does well is a kind of melancholy, dark humor. This is the home of the Smiths. This is the home of Monty Python. This is, these people are latching onto the fact that life is absurd, dark, and that the most sophisticated response is a kind of rich, somber, hilarious laughter. And the reason why America has changed the planet so radically is that it's made up of people who think that such a thing is possible, and you don't have to wait till the next world. You do it right here and now with some tools, and you go to Silicon Valley and off you go. And it's wonderful. It's created, wonders of the world. However, psychically, my goodness, the toll has been enormous, because it forces everybody in that society to measure themselves against an ideal which is so punishing. So, the secret sorrows of the American heart is a volume without end. It's a very big volume, because this is a society that puts its people under unbelievable psychic stress.
Because of blue sky thinking, you can do all of these things. I wonder whether it's one of the reasons why victimhood culture and its sort of modern incantation hasn't quite caught on in the UK in maybe the same way as it's often sort of the finger is pointed at. Because if you're a child and you're told you can be whatever you want to be, the sky is not even the limit. You can go beyond that and go further. The literally South African living in America is the guy that's trying to go past the moon, to go and do this thing.
Okay. It's the paradox of meritocracy, isn't it? We hear a lot about this idea of trying to build a society where everybody gets to where they merit to be. And it's a wonderful idea, a beautiful idea. But if you really think that you can create a society where everyone deserves to be where they are, my goodness, you're going to have a problem explaining why you failed in that society. Because not only is success merited, but so is failure, which is why failure is so crushing if you really believe in meritocracy. In certain European countries, in sort of tragic idea, no one thinks it's a meritocracy. Everyone thinks the whole system is random, it's rigged. The ancient Greeks were obsessed by the idea of the arbitrary nature of fate, because the gods are in control of human destiny, not humans. Humans can't control their destiny. But in the modern American view, of course you control your destiny, and you are responsible, which is why, the American word for someone who hasn't succeeded is a loser. The loser is somebody who's played a game which had fair rules, and they've messed up, and therefore they deserve no pity, and they just deserve to be called a loser. Which is why the more meritocratic the system is, the more psychological pressure there is, the more impulse there is to kill yourself if you don't succeed. Suicide rates skyrocket the more people believe that individual destiny reflects the essence of who you are. And suicide rates fall when the explanatory factor is thought to lie outside the individual.
You've probably heard me talk about Element before. Come on. Frankly, that's because I'm dependent on it, and it's how I've started every morning for the last 3 years. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mixed with everything that you need and nothing that you don't. Each grab-and-go stick pack contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium with no sugar, no colouring, no artificial ingredients, or any other junk. It plays a critical role in reducing muscle cramps and fatigue while optimizing brain health, regulating appetite, and curbing cravings. The orange flavor, in a cold glass of water is like a sweet salt orangey nectar. And I genuinely feel the difference versus when I've started it and when I've used it and when I haven't. Anyway, they've got a no questions asked refund policy with an unlimited duration. So you can buy it and try it for as long as you want. And if you don't like it for any reason, they will give you your money back. And you don't even need to return the box. That's how confident they are that you'll love it. Plus, they offer free shipping in the US. And right now, you can get a free sample pack of Element's most popular flavors with your first purchase by going to the link in the description below, or heading to drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom. That's drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom. Thank you very much for tuning in. Ooh, a tasty morsel of a conversation for you there. Well, full meal available right here. Go on. Press it.